Right, we're now live. Welcome to the show, National Housing Party United Kingdom. It's our weekly party stream, and John Lawrence can't. And John Lawrence can't make it tonight because we got a strike on the other channel, NHPUK TV. This channel is NHPUK Press Office, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so. Is there anybody in the chat? I can't see the chat on DLive and Facebook. Hello there, Mark Williams. Nice to see you there. Can't see anyone on the Facebook or the DLive or any of the other platforms we're streaming on. I can only see the chat on YouTube, NHPUK Press Office. Hello, Craig. Good to see you there. Oh yeah, John Lawrence can't make it tonight. It's his birthday tonight, and happy birthday to John Lawrence. Hope he has a good evening. And as I said, we couldn't stream on John's channel, which is NHP UK TV, because we got a strike. The last live stream we did. So this is our party live stream every Tuesday at 7 p.m. And tonight we're going to be speaking about Thames Water, the crisis with Thames Water, who have reportedly gone into debt of 14 to 16 billion pounds. And we're just waiting for Paul Rimmer to come along, and hopefully he'll join us shortly. Hello, Tinfoil Hatter. Mark Williams again, and Craig, good to see you there. So yeah, the Thames water crisis is quite an interesting one, really, because we got two policies which relate to that crisis for our party. If you look on our website, we've got nationalise the utilities, the rail, and the energy supply. So water and electricity, we feel that should be run by the government, and it shouldn't be in the hands of private companies to make profit. And Thames Water used to be a government-run operation, and Maggie Thatcher, she privatised it. And apparently, when she privatised it, she handed it over to a private company, and with no debt, and now they're 14 billion pounds in debt, between 14 and 16 billion pounds in debt. They sold lots of shares to a Canadian firm, Chinese firm, a Middle East firm. So apparently they gave out, millions of pounds to these shares, to these companies, and now they've gone into they're about to go bust. So not only did they privatise it, they also sold it off to the rest of the world. And similar thing with the energy. With a lot of French companies are running our energy industry, and we basically think that vital services like water, energy, and rail, these sort of industries are too big to they're too big to have a fair competition of companies, for a start, and they can be monopolised very easily, which looks like exactly what's happened with Thames Water. And also, the people who have got hold of these companies like Thames Water, for example, deep down they know that whatever happens, the government are not going to allow it to completely crumble and let it die, because water is an essential part of society. Without water, we're going to have a breakdown of society. So they know, these people who take like these companies, these energy companies, water companies, the National Railway, they just cannot stop functioning. So they know deep down that the government are going to bail them out, and this is why it shouldn't be privatised, and it should be run by the government. It's a vital service for the community, an everyday thing, what people need. People shouldn't have to pay for water, in my opinion. They should be charged rates, and to keep the infrastructure going of the water supply. So but I don't, I think we need a balance. We need a balance of nationalisation and the free market. For example, like football stadiums and football clubs, obviously, and other things. It's not going to affect the community if they fail. But things like water, railways, and stuff like that, they have to be working. So for example, with the railways at the moment, you're looking at about £100 train tickets to Liverpool return, or to Manchester return from London, and I just got a ticket to Belfast on an aeroplane, which is even further, for £50 return. I mean, it just doesn't add up. So all this privatisation has been for these very important services. I think it's been a disaster. And if you look at our policies, you can go to our website, nationalhousingparty.uk. You can have a look at our policies there. So hello there, John, in the chat. BFD Bandit, Tim Four Hatter, Craig, Paul Evangeli. Good to see you there, Paul. So yeah, Thames Water, 630 million litres lost every day. And John Lawrence has just put that information there. See if I can get that on this. Yeah, got that on the screen there. So just waiting for Paul Rimmer. I'm not sure what's happened to Paul. Hopefully he's going to turn up. But yeah, it's a bit confusing tonight because we're not on John's channel. We're on National Housing Party Press Office channel. So yeah, I think we need a balance of nationalisation. For a start, foreign companies should not be owning businesses in this country. That is just completely wrong. I just don't understand anyone who think that is okay. Why would you allow a foreign company in another country to run a company in this country? And with Thames Water, all these shares have been, they've given them loads of money, and now they're talking about the government's going to have to bail it out. Thousands of pounds of fines in water bans and stuff like that. It's a real crisis, this Thames Water thing. All these meters they want to put in your house now, these water meters, charging you for how much water you're using, which it's very worrying what is going on with the Thames Water. But also we're going to be talking about the France riots. I mean, what was happening there was quite frightening, and I'm not sure what's going to happen in France, because people know now that France is in serious trouble. I mean, that's not the first time that's happened. They've had serious riots before. And, there was the policeman. I tweeted a video of a French policeman. He said they're not rioters, they're trying to kill us. They're literally trying to kill the police. And just reading the chat there. Yeah, so in France, I mean, I think it's all running in the hands of Marine Le Pen, which is a good thing for her and her party, National Rally. I would say that Marine Le Pen is going to probably win next election, the next big election. But yeah, we are a nationalist party, and our policy is to nationalise utilities. That means electricity, gas, and water. Nationalise the railways, and what else? Nationalise utilities, water, gas, and electricity, and the railways. And at the end of the day, I personally think the NHS should be nationalised, but I think it should be a pay-as-you-go service. We haven't got a policy on the NHS yet, but I do believe that if people would have to pay a little bit of money for a doctor's appointment, they wouldn't miss the appointment, which causes a lot of waste and a lot of money being lost. But just a big shout out to Mark Williams in the chat. I did send you an email, Mark. Just wanted to know something from you. I've sent you an email just to let you know in case you haven't looked at your emails. I won't say it live, but we have sent you an email. And thank you so much for all the donations you give us. And we spend it on leaflets and stuff. And we've got 3 candidates, hopefully, coming up to stand. One potential, she's thinking about it. And the other 2, more or less, they've said they're going to stand in Leicester and another one in the Wirral, Merseyside. So things are going very well. And we're doing very well as a party. We've had multiple people stand for us already. John will be focusing on his election in Oldham coming up. And I'm going to be starting my campaign soon in London. And yeah, this is what we started the party for, to stand in local elections. There is a few parliamentary elections coming up, which is completely out of our league. And to be honest with you, it's also out of UKIP's league, it's out of Reclaim's league, and it's out of Reform's league, because you cannot have any chance of getting a good result in a parliamentary election unless you've won at least half of the local council seats within that area. And not a lot of people realise this, but that is the reality. And people are not just going to start voting for you if they're not already voted for you. It takes years of campaigning to get a good result in a parliamentary election. There's no other way around it. We need to wait until the Labour Party and the Conservatives fall apart, which they are going to fall apart without a doubt. So, yeah, a few parliamentaries coming up. I mean, it will be interesting to see what result the Conservatives get. I think Labour are probably going to win it, most of them, because, you know, but they're divided as well. You know, Labour are divided. You've got the Corbynites, you've got Starmerites, you know, Starmer's lot on one side, Corbyn's lot on the other side. In the Conservative Party, you've got people who want to drastically reduce immigration on one side, and others on the other side who are open borders, Remain. So it's all unfolding. And, you know, 20 miles away, if you're standing at Dover, 20 miles away in France, the equivalents of the Labour Party and the Conservative Party have completely fallen apart in France. Marine Le Pen is responsible for that. And the banker globalists parachuted Macron in to stop her, which they did the first time. And then they also did the second time, but her vote increased. So she is on the verge of power, and we're not far behind, because the Labour and Conservative are going to fall apart in this country. There's no doubt about that. But going back to the France riots, I mean, how anyone can still say multiculturalism is good and we should have more immigration and more refugees they've just got to be insane. Or they deliberately want to destroy European nations, which there is quite a few people who do want that. A lot of hardened communists, that's their plan, to completely bring down the system, bring down Christianity, bring down the monarchies, everything, you know, our democracy. And they're probably quite happy for more immigration to do that. But Marine Le Pen, she isn't actually the leader at the moment of the National Rally. There is somebody else as the leader. I don't know much about him, actually. And to be honest, over the last week, all the stuff what's been going on Twitter regarding the France riots, I I didn't see anything about the leader of National Rally. All I was hearing about was Marine Le Pen. And yeah, I mean, I put a tweet out saying that Marine Le Pen's dad and Nick Griffin, they were 100% right, you know, in what they were campaigning for. They were campaigning in a civilized and democratic way, didn't have any policies to kill anyone or attack anyone. They were just simply saying we need to stop immigration. That's all they were saying. And they've been proven right. And I done a tweet about it, and there must have been about 40,000 people who saw the tweet, but people are still scared to interact with it. They're scared to like it. And presumably if they didn't like them, they would have, you know, maybe left a comment or something. So I'd say the majority of that 40,000 people agreed with what I was saying, that they were correct in what they were campaigning for. And it's just amazing that people still kind of, you know, they got their head in the sand, haven't they, basically? Because the moment it's like these other parties like Reform UK, UKIP, Reclaim, they're never going to say we need to completely stop immigration, because the moment you say that, you acknowledge that the whole thing was a mistake. And not a lot of parties are prepared to stick their necks out and say it's got to end, completely stop giving out passports to foreigners. We've given out enough. We can't give out any more, and we need to stabilise the country, secure our borders and our freedom. Join the NHPUK if you agree with that, because, as I said, there's very few parties who actually do. There's one other party we're friendly with, that's the British Democrats. They have the same policies as us regarding immigration and refugees. We want to completely stop accepting refugees for citizenship and housing. I was going to do a video today on our policy with refugees in London, but it's pouring with rain in London. I don't know if anybody is watching in London, but it is absolutely bucketing down in London. Hello, Dave, 101 in the chat. Hello, Serena. Nice to see you there. So, yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable that people they'll still push that propaganda line that you know, we need more immigration. Diversity is our strength. I mean, these people coming on the dinghies, I mean, how many crimes have they committed already? It's just unbelievable. And you still get people defending them. And I don't know if anyone saw that article recently about these charity workers going to the Calais jungle for sex. I mean, what planet are these people on? I mean, it's just disgusting. And yeah, it's like Dave said, it's not a mistake, it's a catastrophe. It really is a catastrophe what is happening to Europe. I mean, multiple nations are being destroyed because of immigration. That's what it's doing. It's anti-Christian. Act 1726. God created the nations for a reason, and these borders should be respected. Strong families, strong borders. And putting hundreds of thousands of non-natives into a different nation is not a Christian thing to do permanently. You know, no one's got a problem with temporary visas, visitors, people getting married. They are different things. But when you've got large amounts of people who have no connection to that country settling permanently, it damages the country. It damages the nation, because nation comes from the word native. A nation is an area made up of the same people. So who knows what's going to happen in France? You know, there's a lot of things happening. You know, people's bank accounts are getting closed. Nigel Farage had his bank account closed. I don't have any sympathy for him, because, you know, this has been going on a long time, and he had a platform to speak out against it for people on the right who had already happened to, and it's finally happened to him. Nigel Farage thought that he had dived through enough politically correct hoops for them to leave him alone. And I think it's quite a good thing that it's happened to Nigel Farage, because it means that the establishment are really panicking. They are literally bricking it, because to do that to Nigel Farage, you know what I mean? Nigel Farage is not a dissident. He's not a nationalist. His famous quote of his most memorable political victory was defeating the BNP, and the BNP were the only party what could have saved this country in a civilized and democratic way. So Nigel Farage is, you know, and then he starts saying, "Oh, he's going to leave the country and all that," and who knows what's going to happen there. But you know, and when he mentioned he'd lost his account, then all these other Brexit Party people came out who said they'd lost their accounts before. Which, why didn't we hear about this? Why wasn't Farage highlighting that? You know. So, as I said, the establishment, the globalists, the central bank, the central international bankers, they're panicking. The EU is crumbling. NATO is on its last legs. They've lost the war in Ukraine. Christianity is rising in Russia, the last major country in Russia. The last major country in Europe promoting Christianity is Russia. We're a Christian party. We want a revival. We want a Christian revival in not only in this country, in the Western world, because it's no coincidence that societies are falling apart because they've removed Christianity. Even if you don't believe in God and you don't believe in Jesus, everybody knows that we were better off in a Christian society when people were following the rules and a book with the life's manual. And it's no coincidence we got all this trans nonsense going on in schools. So yeah, the globalists are panicking, and they're attacking Nigel Farage, which, you know, at the end of the day, now he knows what it's like to be persecuted, because he was part of the crowd who would persecute our sort of people because they didn't like the things we were thinking. You know, all the parties Nigel Farage has been involved with, UKIP, Reform, Brexit, all of the NHPUK leadership are banned from joining. So, you know, Farage is well and truly part of cancel culture, and now he's been cancelled himself. He didn't like it. So, yeah, just going to have a look at the chat, see what's going on in the chat. So, yeah, he's definitely controlled opposition. Well, I think Nigel Farage is part of the establishment, and all those parties, what sort of got his fingerprints on, Reclaim, Heritage, UKIP, they are all semi-establishment parties, and none of them want to stop immigration. None of them want to completely stop accepting refugees, and all of them have got an anti-white policy, and their anti-white policy is each one of those parties have banned anyone who belonged to a party who was trying to prevent the indigenous British people becoming a minority. So why would you have a policy to ban those people? I mean, that is an anti-white policy, in my opinion. So, yeah, so back to the Thames water thing. Massive crisis, the Thames water. Privatisation, it was privatised by Maggie Thatcher. And big mistake, in my opinion. Like I said before, there's certain things what need to be run by the government, like the army, the prison service, the water supply, electricity, gas. These things are too big to fail, and you cannot have a fair competition in them to bring the price down. They end up being monopolised, and these big businesses take it over. Same with Big Pharma. Big Pharma is, you know, won't say no more about that, but that is another example of big business taking over, running riot, and causing a catastrophe. So basically, things are going well at NHPUK. Paul Rimmer was supposed to be joining us tonight. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it, looks like. Maybe they'll come later on. Happy birthday to John Lawrence, who couldn't make it. Yeah, but as I say, we're a nationalist party, Christian nationalist party. You know, we believe that, you know, our great nation was built from Christianity. There's no doubt about that. Our flags, St. George's Cross, Christian cross. Union flag is 3 Christian crosses: St. George's Cross, St. Patrick's Cross, St. Andrew's Cross. Unfortunately, the Welsh St. David's Cross is not in there, but that's another Christian cross representing one of the home nations. And people don't realise how important Christianity was. I mean, why do you think we've got all this crap in schools now? They're teaching these kids that they can be changed into a different sex, you know, and if you don't have Christianity as a guide, a moral guide, who's to say it's not right, and who's to say that they can't do all these crazy things they're teaching them in schools now regarding these sex education? Our policy is to remove sex education from schools and put it into the hands of the parents where it should be. Also, on people attempting to change sex, which is impossible, we campaign to make it illegal to attempt to change sex with operations, which would make it illegal for doctors to do that, surgeons to do that. I just cannot believe that anyone in their right mind think that is an okay thing to do. When you are born, male or female, that is what you are. You cannot change it. And it's so sad that what has happened. This is all because Christianity has been removed from our society. So yeah, have a look at our website, nationalhousingparty.uk. Check our policies out. If you want to join the party, £22 a month, £22 a year. If you're unwaged, you can join for £11 a year. We've got quite a few activists, so if you do join and you want to get active, leafleting or helping one of our candidates campaign in their local areas, please get in touch with us. And we had a successful election campaign in May just gone. We had one candidate in the Wirral, Merseyside. I went up there personally to help. Craig in the chat was helping. Paul Rimmer was helping. That was Gary Bergin, our candidate. Also, we had a good campaign down in South Gloucestershire. Callum Lee got a good vote. I was down there helping Callum. And also John Lawrence, his vote went up again. John has stood 3 times. You know, John's a hero. He's the leader of the party. He's put his face up, his identity up, his address up. Everyone knows who he is. He stood up, the head of this party, and said, we need to stop permanent settlement immigration. We need to stop accepting refugees for permanent settlement and housing. So, you know, people got to remember that we're trying our best. You know what I mean? We're a small party. You know, we do need people to come forward and help us. There's a lot of people who sit on the sidelines and start criticising us and say this and that about us, cause division. And people have got to, they've got to really have a look at themselves. Like, none of them are a member of a political party. Looks like Paul Rimmer's just about to join us. Hello, Paul.
Pat, are you still there?
Hello. Yeah, you're live. You're live.
Well, I got on. My clock was an hour wrong, and I thought it was 6:30. It's 7:30. But better late than never. Sorry about that, Pat.
Welcome to the show, Paul. So we've been talking about Thames Water, the crisis with Thames Water, 14 to 16 billion in debt. Maggie Thatcher famously privatised it with no debt, and now It's 14 to 16 billion pounds of debt, and Chinese people, Canadian firms in the Middle East have got all these shares, Paul, and they've been taking the money, haven't they? What's going on?
Well, that was privatised 30 years ago almost. And one of the reasons why it was privatised is they needed capital investment, huge investment, billions, because the whole infrastructure is Victorian. It needs updating and replacing. The government didn't want to finance it. So by privatising the company, they raised a lot of capital. Now, they sold the shares across the world, as you said, and they have invested huge amount of money. But the problem is they also borrowed huge amount of money. Now, this is symptomatic of what's happening in the whole economy. Thames Water has 80% of its equity, that's its total worth, is now linked to debt. That's a huge debt burden it has to carry. And it's struggling to finance the debt because the interest payments have gone through the roof. Now, what they can do, because they're a privatized company, they can turn the debt into equity and pass it on to the shareholders. But the government could not renationalise Thames Water now because first they'd have to pay off the shareholders, which would be about 10 billion, and then they'd have to pay off the debt, it would be another 8 billion. So, and the government's bankrupt. Our country is officially now bankrupt. We can't raise any more money because we've overborrowed and we're just about meeting the interest payments. Right across the economy now, they're going to struggle, the companies, to pay the interest on their debt. And you're going to see bankruptcies, you're going to see layoffs, you're going to see banks going tits up because there's going to be huge cash flow problems in the economy. It's people are just turning a blind eye to it at the moment, but Thames Water is the first warning shot. Now, as you know, it's a monopoly, it's a public utility company. It was a bit of a gamble to privatise all these firms, but huge amount of capital was raised and good management was put into place initially. The problem with renationalisation is that the government haven't got the business people to manage these companies. They'd have to employ bureaucrats. And the whole state machinery now is controlled by the Equality Act. When they put people into place, they're not astute businessmen. They're not able people of European background. Oh no, they put African and Asian women in charge of everything now. That's the Equality Act. And they can't run anything. And the state, our national state, is becoming a complete and total joke. It's not fit for purpose anymore, Pat. And we're heading for a crisis. Everyone's stuck in this and pretending it's not happening, but we're heading for a crisis and it's just around the corner.
Well, definitely, it's all coming to a head. We're as a nation, we're trillions in debt, and this Thames Water thing is massive. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with that, but like you say, you know, maybe they can't nationalise it. But that's what I think should happen. I believe that essential services like that should be nationalised. I mean, one of our policies is to ban foreign ownership of companies in this country. I just can't believe that that's globalism. That's what globalism is. They don't believe in borders, and they're happy for a company halfway around the globe to exploit our people in this country to make money, and they're happy for them to do that. As long as these globalists have got their regime going, continuing, they're just going to carry on doing it. But things are coming to a head. I mean, like we were going to speak about France, and Marine Le Pen is from a real nationalist family, and if she wins the next election, I think that will be the end of the EU personally, because I don't think I do remember this with Marine Le Pen. Initially, she did say that she wanted to get out of the euro, the currency, but then there were so many big businesses and people invested with that currency that she actually changed her mind. So I'm not sure what their position now is, but so, you know, when they have their next election, I think she's going to the National Rally will win, and then that is going to be a domino effect for nationalism right across Europe. and these globalist companies will be on the back foot then, hopefully.
I don't know if we're going to make it to the next set of elections. You see, France, like the UK, like the whole of the European Union, it's got terrible problems now with inflation and with debt. Now, the European Central Bank, which controls the euro, has borrowed trillions, but it's not based on any national economy. It's really just based on hot air. That all the governments of Europe have given it the nod and said, we will cover you. But they borrowed this money against nothing. And now there's rampant inflation in Europe. You see, all this mass uncontrolled immigration, which has led to this explosion in France, has brought basically an army of parasites into the European Union who are just bleeding it dry. They're all on a welfare system. They're all taking everything for nothing. And high quality services like healthcare, housing, education, benefit system. They've never put anything into it, and yet they're milking it dry. And it's all right when the economy's turbocharged and growing, but now the European economies, the taxes are too high, and so it's slowed down the whole growth of the European economies. They're not growing, and there's been deindustrialization even in Germany now, and we've got this crazy net zero with the carbon emissions and this whole bogus climate change agenda, which is encouraging Germany to deindustrialize. The wealth of Europe is being taken away from it. And so they can't finance this huge welfare state. And so the job market has become stagnant. All these immigrants are there living on benefits. That can't be sustained. And we've just seen this explosion in France, which really should shake the whole of Europe, because that was, in a sense, an Islamic insurrection, and it hasn't finished. They stormed police stations and grabbed arsenals. They fired live ammunition at the state forces. They caused over £250 million worth of damage. Over 6,000 cars have been torched already. This is like almost civil war levels. And yet we're just supposed to ignore this. The media silence in this country has been incredible, because what we've got in France is these huge ghettos on the edge of French cities, which are just breeding grounds for Islamism. They hate the West. They hate the French, the Algerians. They want revenge. This is their key word, and they're looking for any opportunity to get that as an excuse. The killing of this criminal was just an excuse. They're looking for opportunities to get their revenge against European civilization, which humiliated them in the 19th century. And the French colonized Algeria in 1830, actually. But the reason the French colonized Algeria was because of the Barbary pirates. The Algerian coast, Mediterranean coast, was just a base for pirates who were grabbing Europeans and using them as slaves, grabbing European ships and stealing the cargoes. So the French had no option. They had to, to establish order, go into Algeria. And of course, when I was born in 1962, it was still a French colony. And there were over 1 million French people lived on the coast of Algeria. Believe that. Just shows you how the world's changed. So these people, the Arabs rebelled against that. And with the support of both the United States and the Russians, they got their independence. But now they want to take over France. Just as we have, they like people coming from West Africa and the Southern Asia, which were our colonies, and they're coming here. And they've got a spirit of revenge in them. They want to dominate us and break us. And sadly, because of this whole woke agenda, political correctness, which has come from the globalist culture they've imposed upon us, the Western man has become emasculated. We've got to get our soul back. We've got to get our strength back. And we've got to man up, because there's a fight ahead, as we saw in France, not just in the political realm, but that fight could spill out into the streets. So French nationalists were mobilized. We have to defend what is ours. All the nonsense of the post-war period, political correctness, is reaching ahead now. Because of Biden's stealing of the election in 2020, there's been a delegitimization of the Western states. And They're banking everything, and this is really bizarre, on a Ukrainian victory over Russia. As Biden said, he wants regime change in Russia. It's not going to happen. I mean, I've just been reading in the supermarket, the political weeklies, the likes of the New Statesman and the Spectator. I've never read so much rubbish in my life. They're all talking about the imminent collapse of the Russian regime. They're all talking about the fall of Putin and the defeat of the Russian army. It's not going to happen. The exact opposite is going to happen. The Ukrainian army is just being financed by the Americans. It's being supplied by the Americans. It's a proxy American army, and it's going nowhere. They haven't penetrated the first line of the Russian defenses in their counteroffensive. So the West is for NATO. They're all linked together. NATO, the media, the politicians, horizontally integrated, and they're failing in Europe. They're failing in the Ukraine. They're failing in America. They're failing economically. And it's going to, very, very shortly, it's going to come home to roost.
Yeah, I'd just like to highlight this. I didn't know that Poland was about to have a referendum to leave the EU. That would be great if they left. But yeah, I think they're on their last legs. I was saying earlier on, Paul, that the globalists are panicking, and for them to close Nigel Farage's bank account, it kind of proves that they're really running scared, because I'm not a fan of Nigel Farage. He's not one of us, and he thought that he had jumped through enough politically correct hoops to be left alone. But it's quite funny that he hasn't, because we're all banned from joining any of the parties he was involved with, because we tried to prevent the indigenous British people becoming a minority in a civilized and democratic way. That was our crime. And that is what everyone's complaining about now. Look at the state of France. It's been a war zone for the last week there. And globalism is on the retreat now, and it can only go one way now, in my opinion. But I also said to someone the other day that Russia was the last major country in Europe pushing Christianity. And this person tried to say to me, "Oh no, it's all fake. It's all this, that, and the other." What do you know about that, Paul? About the Orthodox Church? I mean, I read a statistic the other day: 61% of Russians now consider themselves Christian. I think it's about in the 30s in the UK now, isn't it?
Well, let me just say first of all, Pat, I love that the way you say the BNP, they stood a legitimate and decent way to stop this takeover of our society. It was an heroic stand that they took. They used the ballot box. They campaigned legally and with sensible arguments, saying we have to stop this mass immigration and this multiculturalism. And hats off to the BNP. I was involved in them at the time, and it was really the last stand, the last democratic stand of the British people. But we can't surrender, because there's trouble ahead, and we've got to be up for the trouble. But I'll come back to that, because the thing about Farage, right? I see things happening now with the Reform Party. I think the Tories have really melted now. They've gone into meltdown. Rishi Sunak is just an empty suit. Jeremy Hunt is running the government. He's a Europhile. He's a social democrat. They've got no answers to any problems. All they do is spend money. We know Labour will be infinitely worse. Labour will be totally incompetent. But we expect at least a standard from the Tories, and they're way below it. And the Reform Party, they seem to have a front row now of decent people. I'm Widdicombe and the rest. And I think if Nigel Farage rejoined the Reform Party, I was thinking about this today, they would take off like a rocket, like the Brexit Party.
Well, he is. He is with them, Paul. He is officially with them.
Well, if he took over the leadership, if he got a prominent position within it politically, like he did with the Brexit Party, I think they could take off, and they could soak up the Tory vote overnight, like they did previously. Now, getting back to Russia and its Christianity, it's deep. Russian Christianity has outlived 70 years of brutal communist suppression. When I say brutal, 90,000 Orthodox priests were murdered. 90,000 priests. 25,000 Orthodox nuns were murdered. Everything was shut down. The seminaries, the nunneries, the churches. I mean, it was only when the Germans invaded Russia in June 1941, Hitler ordered the German army to reopen the churches. And that won him a lot of popularity with the Russian people and the Ukrainian people at the time. And Stalin just saw that and he said, well, I'll have to copy that because that's giving the Germans an edge. He's winning the Russian people over. So Stalin then reopened the churches and, you know, he was given credit for that, but he only did it because he saw how successful the Germans were. Because the Russians are a very religious people, they're very spiritual people. They're a very God-fearing people, and they have a deep religious tradition. Now, when the communist system collapsed in 1989, there were only like 5,000 or 6,000 churches left in the whole of Russia, which is a huge country, Russia, 11 million square miles, you know. And now there's over 40,000 Orthodox churches in Russia. The whole country is covered with Orthodox parishes. The kids and the families go to church every Sunday. They join the services. The head of the patriarch of the Orthodox Church is basically dictating social policy in Russia. They're bringing abortion to an end. There is no Pride Month in Russia. I'll tell you that for nothing. They believe in the family. They believe in a man and woman. They believe in children. So there's a revival in this wholesome sexuality and wholesome family life in Russia. And this is why they're fighting so tenaciously, because they see what's happening in the West and they don't want it. They don't want this transgender agenda. They don't want this demonic, satanic agenda which is being pushed on Western countries. So, yeah, there is a real Christian revival in Russia. But there's another revival going on in Germany at the moment. And this is really shaking the European Union. This is the rise of the Alternative for Deutschland, a German populist party. Wir sind die Volksparty. We are the People's Party. The whole of this politically correct globalist agenda is to destroy the nations and the peoples of the West, destroy the peoples, break their coherence, break their traditions, break their history. Wir sind die Volkspartei. We are the People's Party. We are reasserting the people of Germany own Germany, not the globalists. And what's happened? They've shot up in the polls. They've surpassed the ruling party, the SPD, the Social Democrats. They're basically neck and neck now with the Christian Democrats, but they're starting to win elections. Imagine the BNP in a sense, they're winning local elections. They won one in Thuringia, and then this week they won one in Sachsen-Anhalt, a Bürgermeister, the mayor, and there's another one coming up in Nordhausen next month, which they're threatening to, which they're in pole position for. And of course, next year across Europe, there's the European elections for the MEPs. Now, they were always the, in a sense, the goal of the BNP. This is what gave us our energy. We knew we could win seats in the European Parliament, and these seats are worth a fortune. Each MEP gets £2 million a year in expenses, salary to run an office. You can employ other people at the cost of the European Union. Because the AfD is on 22%, it could get up to 20 MEPs in the European Parliament. Each one is worth £2 million a year. That's 40 million a year in their coffers. That will finance a real challenge in 2025 when they go for the federal election in Germany. But they're changing the whole atmosphere of Germany. They're giving the German people hope. I was looking yesterday at how every regional branch of the AfD is seeing a surge in membership. This year, their membership have gone up by a third in the last 6 months. So, I mean, this is a phenomenon in Germany, a populist party.
They started in 2013, I do believe, and they literally they only started. Their main thing was to go back to the Deutschmark from the euro. That was what they were. That was their main thing at the beginning. And as the refugee crisis, when Merkel invited the whole of Asia into Germany, that kind of strengthened a lot of their policies. And I haven't had a look properly at their policies, but you know, considering where they came from, you know, we think it's bad in this country with political correctness and you know, the anti-white agenda. In Germany, it's probably 10 times worse because of what happened in pre-1945. And you know, it's amazing that they're starting to rise up now and they're going to take their country back. And it's going to happen all over Europe, Paul. I'm convinced. And it's going to happen here as well. People need to join a party. They need to join the National Housing Party. We've got the policies everybody wants. We've got the name. We need to stop immigration. There's a housing crisis. We've got to stop accepting refugees for citizenship and housing. It's so obvious what we need to do, but we just need the people to join. £22 a year on the website, £11 unwaged on the website at nationalhousingparty.uk. Please get in touch with us. We need help, all different areas. Just being a member, just by joining and not even coming to meet us would be a massive help. I signed up a new member today, which was good. Someone kept saying to me he's going to join, you know, and people keep saying they're going to join and they never do, but he joined. And, you know, I didn't, you know, think anything bad of him, but I've had other people say it, but he went through with his word and he's joined today. And I know him. He's from my area in Camden. And, you know, we are moving forward. We've got new candidates who have come forward who are going to stand, one in Wirral, which I told you about the other day. And we've got one in Leicester. And I'm really looking forward to getting involved with that. And, you know, it's going to happen in Europe. There's no doubt about it. What has happened in France in the last week has moved the pendulum even more to the right. And we're sliding back to the right. We went as far left as we could, and we're slowly sliding back down to the right, back to normality is what I would call it. But we need Christianity brought back. Europe was made great with Christianity. Every European nation was made great following Jesus Christ. And we have a weekly Bible study. If anybody is a Christian watching, please get in touch with us. You can email me if you'd like to come to our online Bible study. It's private. There's about 10 of us every week who are signed up to it. So you can email me, patrick.mcginnis at nationalhousingparty.uk. So that's patrick.mcginnis, McGinnis at nationalhousingparty.uk. Email me and I'll bring you into the Bible study. Paul Rimmer here. He's the pastor for the Bible study group, and that is the backbone of our party. We're a Christian nationalist party, and we believe in common sense. And you know, it's going to happen. I strongly believe this country is going to get a nationalist government in one day.
Well, the thing with Christianity is that the established churches, especially the Church of England, but also this Pope, have produced this woke Christianity, which has embraced Islam and embraced a lot of the gay agenda and the transgender agenda and all this sort of political correctness. And this is all demonic. This is all wrong. We are a traditionalist Christian party. You need a moral core to have a nation. People talk about borders. You need physical borders around your national area, but you need moral boundaries as well, because the family has got to be the basis of the nation. In America, they use this expression, faith, family, freedom. That's the Christian nationalist expression. That's what we stand for. And faith is the rock on which we stand, because you must believe what is right and what is wrong. You must have a rock on which to stand. God is the rock, the absolute. And that's how we get our strength. That's where we get our sense of purpose. And therefore we can see things clearly. We can discern what is right and what is wrong, because we have the right faith. So it's important. And all nationalist parties, see, God made the nations, and he also made the borders between the nations. This is scripture. Acts 17, verse 26. God made the nations and the borders between the nations in order to maintain order in the world. And then from that order can come peace. And from peace, we have the space to worship God and to study God and to live godly lives. And we want to raise our children to be godly people. This is why the family is so important. You see, the globalists, they attack the family. They undermine fatherhood. They want emasculated men, weak men, so that society breaks up, and they want to replace us, the indigenous peoples of Europe, with third world immigrants. This is their goal, and then they can dominate our continent. And they've had a free hand in this since 1945, but we have to turn it around. I mean, Donald Trump was part of that turning it around, but he was knifed over in America. The globalists knifed him, but he hasn't given up. And I saw a rally on Saturday in South Carolina, a little town there. 50,000 people appeared from nowhere to support Trump. He's on the roll again. They're really terrified of him in America. He's making it happen. I actually feel, as Pat said, that the nationalists are resurging now in Europe. In Spain, on July the 23rd, there's an election. You're going to see Vox play a pivotal role in the next Spanish government. We have a nationalist government in Italy, which is starting to assert itself as it gains confidence. We have the rise of Marine Le Pen in France and the National Rally. They're going to take over France. They're needed desperately. We see the AfD in Germany. We see, I mean, Pat talked about Russia being the last Christian nation in Europe. Poland is a great Christian nation as well, great Christian traditions. And they've held on to Christian morality. And there are other people, Viktor Orban, he's a very powerful Christian. So in Greece, we've seen a nationalist government there and Christian revival in Greece. We're seeing in Holland, because these people have they're overreaching, the globalists, and they're trying to kick the Dutch farmers off their land.
For
Dutch agriculture is the best agriculture in the world, and they're trying to destroy it. And the Dutch people are fighting back on that. So right across the continent now, the fight back is on. We have to redeem our nations. Europe is a great civilization. We can't let it go to waste. We can't see it destroyed. We can't let the barbarians take over. We have to reassert ourselves. That's the duty of every European man, woman, and child. And we in Britain, the National Housing Party, are standing up to be counted, because we know it's so important, and we know that God is with us.
Yeah, I mean, in Holland, they're literally saying they're taking the farmers' lands off them, and they've had it for hundreds of years, generations, and they're saying we've got to take land to build housing complexes for immigrants. It's just like, it's unbelievable what the audacity of them, and they're literally trying to do it. You missed out Sweden, the Swedish Democrats. They are literally in government, and it's happening all over Europe. And it's going to be interesting to actually see the European Union finally collapse, because I think we will definitely see it in our lifetime. It's like it could happen. It's just a matter of time, and it's going to happen soon, I think. Yeah, I mean, we're up to an hour, so I'll probably leave it there, Paul, unless you want to say anything else.
What I want to say is be of good cheer, because as Pat said, I've got a lot of grounds for optimism. The globalists have overreached. They've gone too far. We've just seen this Pride Month. It's been disgraceful. And a lot of people have been repulsed by what we've been imposing upon our children. And I think people in their hearts are pushing back against this now. And thanks to the likes of Twitter, thanks to brave individuals like Pat and parties like the National Housing Party, we're starting to stand up and making our voices heard again. And the fight back is gaining momentum. We're taking great courage from what's happening in Europe. We're taking great courage from what's happening in America. And we know that the Zelensky and his pirate regime in the Ukraine is getting nowhere. They now want to conscript all the Ukrainian men and send them to the front line. And he was asked Zelensky what would happen if they all die. He said, we'll replace them with African immigrants. Who was he working for? Who was this guy working for? Everyone knows we've been conned so much in the recent past, you know. They've lied to us and they've deceived us. And we've got to wake up. People are being pushed out the comfort zone. They will be by this economic crisis which is unfolding. They're being pushed out.
I mean, I I haven't had it confirmed, but in Ukraine, since the NATO Biden started funding Zelensky and co, that they're starting to push the LGBT agenda in the schools. They've legalized abortion, which wasn't possible before, and this is what NATO stands for. Everyone, like, not everyone, but so many people still think NATO is some sort of guiding light for civilization, and it's not. It's an anti-white, anti-Christian military machine on the warpath, and they're trying to destroy Russia because they represent a white nationalist country who is promoting Christianity. It's plain and simple to see. So I don't know what's going to happen in Ukraine.
The devil, Pat. It's as simple as that. This whole globalist agenda is of the devil. I mean, Dave's put a comment there, which is on the screen, about the Poles. They come to Britain and they saw multiculturalism, and they thought, we don't want that for our country. So they've gone home and they're resiliently fighting any attempts to impose multicultural on them. We've gone from being a Christian nation, a wholesome nation, a patriotic people, a proud and strong people which contributed so much to the world, into a multi-culti hellhole. And that's what we've just seen in France over the past week, what this multiculturalism actually produces. And forget all this enrichment and all the world we're living in harmony. No, it's an incredible danger to us all, and it's going to cause us endless problems, and we've got to resist it and turn it round.
That was coined by Nick Griffin, wasn't it, originally? Multicultural hellhole.
Yeah, multiculti hellhole, multiculti. Yeah, I remember Nick used to say that, because that's what we've seen in city after city. I mean, what's happening in France is just horrendous, isn't it? But it's happening across Europe.
I mean, we probably don't know what it's really like in France. I mean, I don't watch the news anymore. I'm just getting all my information from Twitter. But I don't know if you saw the story of the man trying to protect his property from the rioters, and they chopped his hand off. Did you hear about that one?
I heard about it, yeah. I mean, there's gruesome things going on. These people are barbarians, and they hate us. We have to admit this.
I mean,
I've
seen footage of them shooting an RPG, rocket-propelled grenade at a police station, and it's just unbelievable. I said earlier on before you came on, Paul, they was interviewing this French commandant or whatever it was, head of the police, and he said, they're not rioters, they're not rioting, they're trying to kill us. They are literally trying to kill us. You don't understand what it's like, because there's that divide. It's two different ethnicities, North African and French, or African and French.
You import the third world, you get the third world. Algeria's had an ongoing civil war for nearly 20 years, which was brutal. They were slitting each other's throats. And across Africa, there's nothing but turmoil. There's endless struggles for power, because the politics doesn't work in the third world. They haven't got the basis, the civilizational basis that we have in Europe to make democracies work. So they fight amongst each other, just endless civil wars, endless strife, failed states, huge corruption and theft of government money. Basically, these people have been invited into our country to basically take over our welfare state, and we're feeling it, man. The British is now feeling it. It's time to fight back. Come on board, guys. Join the National Housing Party of the UK. We're going to turn this country round the right way round. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for joining us, Paul. Catch us every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. This is our weekly live stream. We'll be on NHPUK TV next week, because that's John's channel. This is my channel. Please subscribe to my channel, NHPUK Press Office, and lots happening at National Housing Party. Keep an eye on us, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Bye.